Her fingers trembled as she unfolded the note that had slipped out of the patient's medical chart. The words written in shaky ink made her blood run cold. "Don't trust anyone here. My life depends on you. Meet me tonight. Noah." Nina Carter froze. The fluorescent lights above flickered faintly, humming in the silence of St. Ridge Hospital's empty hallway. It was 11:50 p.m. The night shift was always quiet, but tonight felt heavier. The sound of distant monitors beeped softly, echoing through the sterile corridor. Her pulse quickened. Who leaves a message like that? Why her? Nina's eyes darted toward room 18, Noah Reed's room, the mysterious patient who had somehow found a way into her thoughts over the last few weeks. Nina was only 21 years old, still new to the job, still fighting the urge to prove herself. She loved nursing, the feeling of helping people, of making them smile through pain. But lately, something had felt off, and that something was Noah Reed. 27, tall, sharp eyes, the kind of patient that didn't belong in a hospital bed. He'd come in 3 weeks ago with what the doctors called heart failure, but the more time Nina spent around him, the more she noticed. He didn't act like someone who was dying. He was too calm, too watchful, almost as if he were waiting for something or someone. From the shadows, a soft voice called out, "Nina?" Her heart jumped. Slowly, she turned the handle and stepped into room 18. Noah was awake. The moonlight spilling through the blinds gave his face a haunting beauty, his eyes tired but full of quiet intensity. He didn't look sick. He looked scared. "You got my note," he said softly. Nina swallowed. "What does it mean?" Noah gestured for her to sit. "Please." She hesitated, her heart pounding, then sat at the edge of his bed. "Noah, you're scaring me," Nina whispered. He smiled faintly. "I'm sorry. I just needed to know if I could trust you." Then his tone softened. "Do you ever feel like there's something between us? Something more than nurse and patient?" Her breath caught. "You shouldn't say that." He leaned closer, his voice a whisper. "Tell me the truth. Do you think about me when you go home?" Nina hesitated. Her heart thudded painfully in her chest. "Yes, I do." Noah's eyes filled with warmth. "Then you should know. You're the reason I'm still fighting." The air between them was thick with unspoken emotion, fragile, dangerous, real. Tears stung her eyes. "You're dying, and you're talking about feelings?" Noah gave a weak laugh. "No, I'm talking about hope, about what love can do when everything else is gone." But before she could reply, his monitor began to scream. His body jerked violently. "Noah!" she shouted, rushing to his side. His pulse spiked, then dropped. She steadied him, breathing fast. After several tense seconds, the beeping calmed. Nina exhaled shakily. That's when she noticed the small red marks on his arm, not from any hospital IV. Old, round, repeated. "Nina, what are these?" His eyes darkened. "You noticed." He looked toward the door and whispered, "If anything happens to me, go to my apartment, under the floorboard near my desk. There's proof. It's the only way to stop them." "Stop who?" "The doctors here. They're not who you think they are."
Footsteps. Heavy. Getting closer. Noah's grip tightened. "Hide. Now." Nina ducked behind the curtain as the door creaked open. Through a narrow gap, she saw a man in a white coat enter. Tall, cold-faced. Not Dr. Ellis. "Time for your dose," the stranger said. "I don't want it. It's not your choice." Nina's heart pounded as the man filled the syringe with a dark liquid. Noah tried to resist, but he was too weak. "Please don't." The needle pierced his IV. His body went limp. The stranger smirked. "Sleep tight," then left. Nina rushed to Noah's side, panic overtaking her. His pulse was faint. She checked his chart and froze. The medicine the man had injected wasn't listed anywhere. Her chest tightened. Someone was bringing him down. Her hands shook as she whispered, "I'll protect you, Noah. I promise." She stayed with him through the long, terrifying night, watching him breathe, checking his pulse, praying for morning. The silence in the room was heavy. The steady beep-beep of the heart monitor felt like a countdown. Nina's eyes darted from Noah's pale face to the faint light flickering from the window blinds. The air smelt faintly of antiseptic and fear. "Noah," she whispered shakily, "you're saying you used to work for them?" He nodded, his breath uneven. "Yes, I was part of Verigen Lab's research team. We were told the hospital trials were safe, new drugs to treat heart conditions. But it was all a lie. Her throat tightened. What do you mean? Noah's eyes darkened with regret. We were testing experimental compounds on patients who didn't know. When I found out, I tried to expose them. I gathered files, samples, everything. But before I could go public, they turned on me. Her pulse raced. They poisoned you? He nodded weakly. To keep me quiet. They made it look like heart failure, but it's their own drugs slowly bringing me down. Tears slipped down my cheek. Oh my God, Noah, we have to tell someone. His voice cracked. We can't, Nina. Verigen funds this hospital. They control everything, the records, the doctors, even the police. She stared at him, trembling. Then what can we do? He took a deep breath, his eyes glassy but determined. There's proof. In a metal box under the floorboard of my apartment. Files, data drives, and a letter to my sister. It's enough to bring them down. Her voice dropped to a whisper. What's your sister's name? Noah's lips trembled. Leah Reed. Nina's eyes widened. Her voice broke. Leah Carter? Noah's brow furrowed. Wait, Carter? She's my sister. Nina whispered. Leah Carter is my sister. A look of shock and horror crossed Noah's face. No, that can't be. She's alive, Nina. They took her to keep me silent. The world tilted. Her knees nearly buckled. What did you just say? She's alive. They're keeping her somewhere off-site. A Verigen facility. I didn't tell anyone because they said if I talked, they'd bring her down. She covered her mouth, her voice breaking. You're saying my sister is a prisoner? Yes, Noah whispered, and you're the only one who can save her. Before she could speak again, footsteps echoed down the corridor, heavy, rushed. Noah's eyes went wide with fear. They're coming, he rasped. Nina, listen, if they find you here, Leah dies too. You have to go now. Nina's voice trembled. I can't leave you. He gripped her wrist with surprising strength. You have to. Promise me you'll go to my apartment, get the evidence, and disappear. Tears blurred her vision. But Noah, he pressed something cold and metallic into her palm, a small silver key. Safety box 612, Central Trust Bank. It has everything. Her fingers closed around it. I don't understand. You will, he said, voice breaking. Please, Nina, promise me you won't come back. The footsteps grew louder. Shadows flickered under the door. I promise, she whispered through tears. Noah managed a faint smile. Then go. As the door handle turned, Nina climbed onto the window ledge. The cold air hit her face like a slap.
Noah, she gasped. Go, he cried, just as the door burst open behind her. She disappeared into the night. Nina ran through the dark streets, still in her scrubs, clutching the key so tightly it cut her palm. The cold air burned her lungs, but she didn't stop. By dawn, she reached Central Trust Bank. Her hands shook as she signed the access form. The clerk didn't even look up, just pointed her toward the vault. She inserted the silver key into safety box 612 and pulled it open. Inside, files, photos, data drives, and a small black voice recorder. Her breath hitched as she pressed play. This is Noah Reed. If you're hearing this, it means they got to me. Verigen Labs is running illegal trials inside St. Ridge Hospital. Her heart pounded as his voice continued, revealing dates, names, and drug formulas. She covered her mouth in horror. Then she found 2 sealed envelopes, one labeled Leah, the other Nina. Her hands trembled as she opened hers. Dear Nina, if you're reading this, it means I didn't make it. Thank you for seeing the good in me when all I saw was darkness. Please save Leah, and when you stand by the ocean one day, remember that I'll be there too, in every wave. Noah. Tears streamed down her face as she whispered, I'll save her, Noah. I swear. Nina sat frozen in the small bank room, the sound of Noah's recorded voice still echoing in her ears. Her hands trembled as she stared at the mountain of evidence before her. She knew what she had to do, but fear wrapped tight around her chest. Think, Nina, she whispered to herself. Who can you trust? She remembered Sergeant Daniels, her late father's friend, now a detective. He'd once told her, If you ever see something wrong, come to me first." With shaking hands, she stuffed the files, hard drives, and letters into a folder and rushed outside. The morning sun was rising, painting the sky gold, a cruel contrast to the chaos inside her heart. When she reached the precinct, Daniels looked up in surprise. "Nina? What are you doing here? You look like you've seen a ghost." Her voice broke. "It's worse than that. I need your help. It's about St. Ridge Hospital." As she laid the evidence on his desk, his face hardened. "Where did you get all this?" "From Noah Reed. He's dying because of them." He scanned the documents, his jaw tightening. "These are lab records, clinical trials, payoffs. Jesus Christ. Nina, this could take down half the city." She swallowed hard. "And my sister, Leah. They have her." He rose immediately. "Then we move now." By afternoon, the station was alive with tension. Officers suited up, radios crackling. Nina stood near the window, clutching Leah's letter, praying silently. Daniels approached, fastening his vest. "We traced the location, an old research site outside town, abandoned research site. We move in 5. Nina's heart raced. "I'm coming." He hesitated. "Nina." "She's my sister," she said firmly. "I'm coming." He sighed, but nodded. "Stay behind me at all times." The convoy of police SUVs roared down the empty road. When they reached the facility, it stood silent and cold. Chain link fences, broken floodlights, and warning signs that read, "Biohazard." They breached the doors. Inside, darkness, empty hallways, the stench of chemicals, then a faint cry. Nina froze. "That's her," she whispered. They followed the sound to a locked chamber. Daniels kicked the door open, and there she was, Leah, thin, weak, but alive. Nina dropped to her knees, pulling her into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Leah! Oh my God, Leah!" Leah's cracked lips parted. "Nina, you found me." Hours later, the facility was crawling with police. Dozens of rescued patients were escorted out, wrapped in blankets. Medical staff and officers worked side by side under floodlights. Nina sat beside Leah on the back of an ambulance. Leah's skin was pale, her eyes sunken, but she was smiling faintly. "You never gave up on me," whispered. "Never," Nina said softly. "You're all I have." Leah squeezed her hand weakly. "He told me about you. Noah, he said you'd come." Nina's breath hitched. "You saw him?" Leah nodded slowly. "He was in the next wing for a while, always talking about you. Said your kindness was his reason to live." Tears streamed down Nina's face. "He saved both of us." Daniels approached. "Verigen's finished. We've got enough evidence to shut them down for good." "You did it, Nina." She wiped her tears. "No, Noah did." 2 days later, Nina returned to St. Ridge Hospital. The corridors that once felt alive now felt haunted. Room 18 was empty, Noah's bed stripped, monitors silent. She stood there for a long time, clutching his last note. On the pillow lay a folded paper. "You kept your promise. Thank you." Her tears fell freely. "You didn't just save Leah, you saved me." She stepped out into the hospital garden, a place Noah used to talk about when he dreamed of recovery. The morning sun bathed the roses in gold. Nina knelt by a small plaque newly placed near the fountain, in memory of Noah Reed, who gave his life so others could live. She placed a white flower beside it and whispered, "I'll carry your like forever." 6 months later, the world had changed. Verigen Labs had been dismantled, arrests made, survivors compensated. Leah had begun therapy and was slowly recovering. Nina, now stronger and calmer, walked through the hospital garden every week, leaving fresh flowers on Noah's memorial. Sometimes she closed her eyes and felt the wind brush against her skin, gentle, warm, like a whisper. She smiled softly. "I feel you, Noah." Her voice trembled but carried peace. Love doesn't end when a heartbeat stops. It lives on, in every act of courage it leaves behind. True love isn't always about romance. Sometimes it's about sacrifice, truth, and the courage to do what is right, even when it costs everything.